there's no plan or no economic analysis of that impact complete yet.
I would say there's economic analysis that's been done.
Who's holding the pen on that analysis right now?
Well, the main departments that would be involved would be Global Affairs, the Department of Finance.
But who's coordinating it?
It's a collaborative process.
Is there one person? Like, is there a project management office for this?
No, there's no project management office,
okay.
But we have
so there's some people that are working on it off the corner of their desk. Would that be an accurate characterization?
Thanks for the question, but no, I wouldn't characterize it that way.
So who's in charge of that?
Well, thank you. And I'm going to start off by kind of picking up where Madame Sinclair de Gagne was going with the pension fund situation. I think all MPs across the country have heard a lot of concern from public servants who are putting deferred pay basically into their pension fund, and now they find that they've been paying so much that it's created a surplus that has gone above the legal amount, and so now that part of that surplus has gone into general revenue. And as you know, these pension funds come from a contribution by both the workers and the government. And I think the workers and pensioners are upset that they don't seem to be getting, if they've been paying too much, they're not getting that money back directly to themselves or through other mechanisms. It's just going into general revenue. They don't mind the government portion going back, I'm sure, but I'm just wondering, is there any mechanism to do that? Is there any plans? And if there isn't, why isn't there? Because it seems to be patently unfair, and that's why we are being swamped with messages from our constituents.
Thank you for the question. When the surplus was in the document tabled by the President of Treasury Board, she mentioned that the government is looking at options for the future, and she will be discussing that with stakeholders. So I don't have more information at this moment when it will be discussed and with which stakeholders will be involved. So there's nothing else I can offer, I can tell you today on this one.
And those options would refer to what to do with the extra money, or options to make sure we don't have such an incredible surplus in the future? This all started, I believe, back in the Harper administration. They changed the structure of the pension fund, so new employees were getting a different kind of pension so that they would have to work longer to get it, et cetera, et cetera. And it seems that there has to be some rejigging there as well for the future, as well as what to do for the present. Do you provide any advice to the government on those options?
Like I was saying, the president is required to do something when there is a surplus above 125%. And this is what she did. She tabled a document that was supported by the actuary that showed the non-permitted surplus situation. That amount will be transferred into the Consolidated Revenue Fund. And again, some discussions will happen in the new calendar year with key stakeholders, and she will be in a position to provide more information next year.
Okay, I'll move on to the statement in the public accounts that said that revenues increased by 11.7 billion. At the same time, income tax revenue decreased 0.7%, mainly due to lower corporate taxable income and income from non-residents. So if revenues from corporate taxes were down, who paid this extra $12 billion and how did they pay it?
Thanks for the...
Who picks up that difference?
Thanks for the question. I'm not sure it's a question of difference, but just to say that different revenues grow at different paces, and we have, other large sources of revenues. Personal income taxes grew, GST revenues. We have a number of other revenue sources that that grew, and so those offset the effects of the corporate tax revenue decline, and that is sort of normal in any fiscal year, that different bases will grow at different paces, just depending on the state of the economy and other developments.
So do you have any sense of why corporate taxes went down?
Well, I think, as we said, the growth in corporate taxable income was one piece of it, for sure. I could turn to my colleague, Ms. Dancy, who may have other information, the specific details.
Well, happy to add just a little. I mean, what we've described in the Fall Economic Statement, Annex 1, there's a bit of a discussion about the current fiscal forecast. And, Deputy, as you've noted, there's a general slowdown in the economy, which has been facilitated to arrive at this soft landing, has resulted in just a lower corporate taxable income or profit stream than we previously had foreseen.
So can you just tell me what the total revenue from corporate taxes were in the last year? Anybody have that figure?
Sorry, $82.5 billion was the corporate tax revenue that's recorded in the public accounts.
And the amount for personal income taxes?
$218 billion. I think I've got the right number.
Okay, so, I think it's well known that, big corporations especially, and I'm not talking about small businesses here at all, have elaborate ways of going through loopholes to decrease their tax amount. It's been calculated that, we are losing $10 billion a year on these loopholes. Is that something that anybody here today would provide advice to the government on how to close those loopholes, how to, I don't think we want to put an extra burden on companies that are suffering and struggling. And obviously, if they are, they're not paying much tax because they're not making much money. But for the companies that are,
Mr. Forbes, I'm going to have you're well over your time, but I'm going to have Mr. Forbes answer your question, and then we'll come back to you on this line. Mr. Forbes, you can answer that, please.
Thanks. Yeah, a couple of points. I mean, we work very closely with the Canada Revenue Agency to identify places where the tax system, where there is avoidance of taxes that should otherwise be paid. I think there's been a number of steps taken in the past few years to tackle some of this tax, this unfair tax avoidance, tighten rules. And, there's an ongoing effort, quite honestly, with the Canada Revenue Agency to identify these pieces, because I think the fairness of the tax system, it's important that corporations and individuals feel that, that the tax that is owed is being collected. So it's an ongoing battle, and we work closely with the Revenue Agency to tackle those issues.
Thank you very much. That ends our first round. Our second round will consist of 6 members with various times each. Miss Rempell Garners, pardon me. We've known each other for so long. I apologize about that. You have the floor for 5 minutes, please.
Well, thank you, and allow me to put on the record that Teddy is a wonderful dog. I just feel like that should have gone in the Hansard, so I will continue. Mr. Forbes, have you developed an economic analysis of a potential 25% tariff on exports to the United States should the new American administration implement this measure in January?
Thanks for the question. We're certainly working on a range of scenarios in terms of what might happen. I mean, this is it's a statement, but obviously the new U.S. administration is not placed.
Can you table any interim results that you have on that with this committee?
I would have to see what I have available, but we have done some work in this area.
Okay, so it's approximately a month away, so that exercise has not been complete yet?
I would say it's, in some ways, it's evergreen, right? I mean, we're trying to figure out as we go exactly how this will impact us.
Have you forecasted how many jobs would be lost, or the impact on the labor market in Canada should a 25% tariff be implemented on January 20th from the American administration?
Thanks for that. Certainly, I would say there's two parts to that question. We don't have final numbers that I could share. We're working both with businesses and provinces and our own models to determine
So that has
impacts.
not been, we're a month away from that, and there is no plan or no economic analysis of that impact complete yet.
I would say there's economic analysis that's been done,
Who's
but
holding the pen on that analysis right now?
well, the main departments that would be involved would be Global Affairs, the Department of Finance.
But who's coordinating it?
It's a collaborative process.
Is there one
across
person? Like, is there a project management office for this?
a project? No, there's no project management office,
Okay.
but we have
So
multiple
there's some people that are
departments.
working on it off the corner of their desk? Would that be an accurate characterization?
Thanks for the question, but no, I wouldn't characterize it that
So
way.
who's
I'd
in
say-
charge of that?
Oh, we,
You?
officials report to the cabinet. The cabinet, there's a cabinet committee on Canada-U.S. relations, which is
So who's
chaired
on
by-
that cabinet committee right now?
Well, it's chaired by Minister LeBlanc. There is a number of other
Okay, so
ministers.
the fresh cabinet minister, as of yesterday, I got it. I think it's pretty clear that we don't have an analysis on that done. That's wild. I really hope you guys get on that for the sake of this country. Does your budgetary forecast for fiscal year 2024-2025 include additional spending to meet Canada's 2% NATO commitment?
Thanks for the question. The budget, the FES, the Fall Economic Statement, has the investment line from the defense policy review that took place and was announced in Budget 2024.
I'm asking about the upcoming.
I'll finish the
Yeah.
answer. There are no additional amounts for the commitment to get to 2%.
Have you directed your has the government directed your department to conduct an economic impact analysis of the government's proposed industrial emissions cap?
Are you speaking about the oil and gas
Correct.
cap? I think there's a cost-benefit analysis that would be included, a regulatory impact assessment that's done with all regulations that would have been submitted to the Treasury Board.
There has been an economic impact analysis done. Can you table that with this committee as well?
That would be with the Treasury Board. I'll have to check as to what I could table. It's been submitted to
it
Treasury
would be
Board,
nice
so
to
it may
know
be a
that.
cabinet confidence.
Last week, the parliamentary budget officer said the government's, I like to call it the GST tax trick, would cost as much as $2.7 billion if province with an HST asked for compensation. Has the government given your department any indication that they intend to compensate provinces who have not waived their compensation requirement?
We have put forward in the Fall Economic Statement the cost of the federal portion. The government has indicated that provinces that wished to join could do so by paying
But
for
there are
themselves.
some who have said that they would not waive the requirement. Have you forecasted a potential compensation or following through with your compensation requirement?
I'm unaware of which provinces are.
Saskatchewan, for example.
Yes, Saskatchewan is not thanks for the question, but Saskatchewan's not a harmonized sales tax
Okay.
province, so they wouldn't
Are there
be-
any other provinces who have said that they have not had their requirement waived?
Not to my knowledge, but I can't confirm that.
Was the cost of renting hotel rooms for refugees and asylum claimants what was the total cost of renting hotel rooms for refugees and asylum claimants in fiscal year 2023-2024?
Thanks for the question. I don't have the answer for that. I would have to, maybe one of my TBS colleagues would have that.
Can you please table that with committee?
Of course.
How many refugees and asylum claimants were housed in hotel rooms in fiscal year 2023-2024?
We'll come back with an answer to the committee.
You will
in
table that
writing.
with the committee? What was the total cost of per diems for refugees and asylum claimants in fiscal year 2023-2024?
We'll come back to the committee with an
Okay,
answer.
thank you.
Thank you. That is your time, Ms.
Thank you.
Rempell Garner. Suivant, c'est M. Drouins pour 5 minutes, s'il vous plaît.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank the witnesses who are here on short notice. You knew the meeting was happening on Monday. At least you had more time than us, but that's not your issue. It's an issue I have with the Chair.
To the Controller, just with regards to the tabling of public accounts, now normally I know that they should have been submitted 1 month before. You've raised large financial transactions as a potential excuse as to the reason, the rationale as to why we couldn't table the public accounts in time. But understanding that, how are you changing? Are you guys changing your internal processes to ensure that we do table public accounts in a timely fashion, and we do respect that October 15th date that we had set out to from this committee that we had set out to respect? Yeah.
Thank you very much for the question. And I would like to say that I started that position on April 15, 2024. And year-end was March 31st, 2024. So I was not there for the fiscal year that we just tabled. So obviously I needed time to look at those transactions and make sure that I was comfortable with them. Having said that, as you said, the commitment made by the former CG was to table by October 15, 2025. So we still have that commitment. And yes, we are looking across the departments and the crown corporations that are included in the public accounts to make sure that we have proper controls, proper mechanism, and also that we are able to speed the process this year. As the auditor mentioned, she has a commentary in this year in terms of my office having a stronger role in terms of working with CFOs as well as deputy heads, and that's our commitment that we have. We do accept that observation, and we'll make sure that next year we are in a better position to table earlier.
Merci beaucoup pour votre réponse, Monsieur.
Thank you very much for your answer. Mr. Chair, I'd like to move a motion. It's very quick. I hope the committee will be able to deal with it quickly, and then we'll be able to get back to the questions. Now, you can maybe see this coming because it's we seem to be having issues getting information, so I seem to need to put guardrails around your chairmanship, Mr. Chair. So that's only because we want to get to do information in line, with the exception of a meeting called for 104.6, that no member of the committee will be called into a meeting during the break, holiday break period. So it's very short, the motion, but this is just to put guardrails, if you will, around your position as the chair, because I cannot keep working like this.
This motion is out of order. We're here to hear from witnesses today, Mr. Drouin. This is not time for committee business, so I'm ruling your motion out of order. And I will.
Chair, I challenge your ruling.
Ms. Khalid, yes, you say point of order.
Point of order.
And then you get the floor.
I challenge your ruling.
The ruling is being challenged, and we will hear from members if we wish to continue hearing from witnesses, or if we wish to turn to debate this matter about working in January.
Shall the decision of the chair be sustained? Monsieur Drouin. No. Mr. Erskine-Smith.
No.
Madame Khalid.
No.
Mr. Scarpaleggia.
No.
Ms. Yip.
No.
Mr. McCauley.
Yes.
Mr. Nader.
Yes.
Michelle Rempell Garner. Ms. Rempell Garner.
That's fine. Yes. You're fine.
Madame Saint-Clair Desgagnés.
Oui.
Mr. Cannings.
No.
6 yeas, 4